Guys, I just unboxed my Galaxy Z Fold 6, and while I did skip the Z Fold 5, I do find myself feeling quite at home as I was a very long time Z Fold 4 user, and because of that, I have a whole plethora of tips and tricks to pass on to you. So guys, we are going to jump into this little split screen view, and I'm going to give you, I don't even know how many this is, maybe I'll count them off the end, X number of tips and tricks for your brand new Z Fold 6. And funnily enough, the first one that I'm going to show you, I can't actually show you on this screen capture. I'm going to hold this thing up. Do you see here the little under display camera? See how it's not an under display camera? That is because I have mine filled with black. I do not like the look of the under display cameras when they're trying to cover themselves up. They shimmer and they look very strange, but you can get rid of that very quickly. So I'm going to get rid of that tip as quickly as possible. If you look for the store in your app drawer, you'll see it right there. And you search for something called Good Lock. Once that is installed, open it up. There's like so much stuff that we can do within Good Lock, but we're going to start with this one. Click on the little tool icon, and you're looking for Multi-Star. Click on the install button. Once it's done, go into iHeart Galaxy Foldable, and let's turn on Fill UDC with black. If you don't care about this one, just skip it. There's going to be a whole lot more. As you can see, within this, there's a whole bunch of functionality. And again, I'm sure over the course of the next couple of weeks and months, we're going to talk about Multi-Star and Good Lock about a million times. But for now, let's move on to the next thing, which is the ability to actually look at some diagnostics on your phone. And you do this through the Members application. If I'm remembering correctly, you're going to click on Support, and then yes, Phone Diagnostics. So from there, you can run all sorts of different tests. But let's look at the battery status. Obviously, mine is brand new, so you can see the capacity. It's got a normal status. Things can be tested. And this is just a great way to sort of get some diagnostics on your device, just in case you want to keep track of things, or maybe you are worried that something's going wrong. Now, you may notice that my device does not have the buttons down there at the bottom. That is because I have disabled the buttons, and I have gone with gestures. If you want to do this, go into your settings and go to Display. Scroll down until you see navigation bar. And if you click on that, you can change between the different layouts. So you can have buttons, which give you back, home, and then your multitasking, your recent apps, or you can go to swipe gestures. I'm a big fan of just using gestures, so that's the way I'm going to go. You can also turn off the Assistant app, which basically allows you to come down here to this corner and swipe up like that to trigger Google Assistant. I'm going to turn that off because I triggered that on accident all the time. You may also notice that circle to search is there as well. You see this bar down here at the bottom. If you press and hold on that, you're going to get the brand new circle to search functionality, which is going to let you just circle things on your device, and it's going to either copy text or search directly from that. I love circle to search. My one tip for you is do not confuse circle to search with the Google Assistant. If you're using the gesture navigation mode, let's go back into this and let's switch to buttons. In the past, if you pressed and held this little home button, you would get a Google search. That is not what happens anymore. Now you get circle to search. If you want to do a Google search, you have to do that another way. So it's confusing for some people. Hopefully it's no longer confusing for you. When you go through your setup process on these new Z Fold 6s, for some reason, they don't actually have you set up your fingerprint scanner in the setup process, which was weird for me. If it did the same for you, you can fix this. Go back into your settings, and we are looking for security and privacy. If you click on that, you should now see biometrics. Here, it's going to ask for your PIN. If you do change any of these, face recognition can be done there. Fingerprint scanner can be done there. Let me jump into fingerprints really quickly. And you're going to want to potentially turn on fingerprint always on. You can change this to cover display, main screen, or both. Basically, what this means is at any point, just touch your fingerprint scanner and it's going to unlock. By default, you have to click the button, the power button that serves as the fingerprint scanner. Click it, it wakes it up, and then it unlocks. I think that's a wasted bit of effort. Just have it on all the time. Similarly, if you go into face recognition, it's blocking that out as I type in my PIN, you can have this option here, stay on lock screen until swipe. That's on by default. It sees your face, but then you still have to swipe up. Why? That's dumb. Turn that off. What's going to happen is, as soon as you unlock it, it sees your face, and then it dismisses. I guess it's not dumb if you actually want to look at your lock screen, but if you don't, you're like me, you can just have it set like that. It's quicker. Another setting that's just kind of like weird by default for me, if you go into your app drawer and you click on the three dots up here and go to sort, by default it is set to custom order, and that gets weird as you install apps. You can change that to alphabetical and things are going to be a lot more like you would expect them to be. You may also notice this little bar over here to the side. If you swipe on it, you get this taskbar. Now, this was cool for a long time, but the weird part of this for me is that we have a taskbar. If we go into this, there's a taskbar down here, and it does very similar things. So just personally, for myself, I tend to turn that off. If we go back into, I think it's under display, edge panel, there it is. You can click on it and you can customize this, and maybe there's some things you want to do with this, right? So rather than having apps, you can have it be people or your tasks or your weather or different tools, different things like that. Personally, I find myself just not using it, so I just disable it. But there's more options here. You can have it only show on your cover display. Maybe that makes more sense because your cover display doesn't have this taskbar down here. We're going to talk more about that taskbar in a little bit. But again, you can customize that in this place. Another thing that was a little bit strange to me when I immediately started to sideload some applications that I have on all of my phones was something called Auto Blocker. If we go into your settings for privacy and you scroll down, you will see Auto Blocker. Keep your phone safe by blocking threats and other suspicious activity. This is probably good for the vast majority of people. It wasn't good for me, so I turned that off. If you're having an issue and it's not letting you sideload applications, that is where you would go to disable it. Let's talk about this home screen, because there's something that the Samsung phones do that I absolutely love, and it is the ability to stack widgets. So if we long press anywhere, we get our option to open up widgets, and you can scroll through and you can find a widget that you like. We'll see if this one works. The YouTube widget, it's a 4x1. Can I stack that on top of my YouTube music widget? It's not going to let me. What if I make it bigger? Now it's the same size. Can I stack them now? Boom. Now they are stacked up. What does that mean? It means that you can swipe between them and have multiple widgets on top of one another. You can also simply long press and do create a stack, or in this instance, long press and edit the stack, add a widget, get rid of a widget. I think this is a really, really useful feature. I mentioned I'd talk about that taskbar. Let's talk about it. If we jump into an application, we'll just jump into YouTube Music. So you can see the taskbar down here. Basically how this works is you can grab any of these applications, like let's just grab Feedly, long press it, and you can drag it anywhere you want it. Split screen left, top, bottom, right, or even in the middle to do a pop-up view application. We're just going to close that out. A surprising question for me that I've gotten quite a bit is, how do you actually customize this taskbar? The answer is you just drag whatever app you want down here at the bottom. That is your taskbar. So if you want to add your calendar application to your taskbar, simply drag it down there, and when you're in an app, it's going to be down there ready for you to drag into place. But there are actually some other cool ways you can get into your split screen view. If you jump into your settings, some of these need to be actually turned on. Let's scroll down until you see, did I already go past it? No, advanced. We're looking for advanced features, labs, S Pen, side button, and look for multi-window. If you click on that, swipe for split screen, swipe for pop-up view. These are both really, really useful. So the first one, swipe for split screen. Let's see if I can show you this here without accidentally unplugging my phone. Take 2 fingers and swipe from the side. It's going to slide over, and then you can just pick whatever app from over here that you want to use. We'll just use the calculator, and as you can see there, it just went full screen. Let's just do this again. As you can see it here, 2 fingers swipe in. There's my apps, calculator, boom, there you go. The one for swipe up for pop-up view, you're going to come up here to the corner, okay, the corner of the screen. And if you swipe in, see how I'm shrinking the app down? Now when I let go, it's going to be in a floating window. At that point, you can grab the little handle and move it around. You can also click that handle, and it should allow you to do all sorts of different things, like open it back in split screen view, make it transparent, minimize it, maximize it, or close it. If you're in split screen view, clicking the middle will allow you to switch the orientation. You can switch to top bottom, or you can save a pair. What that will do is it'll give you a little shortcut that will instantly launch these 2 apps in split screen view exactly as they were. But don't forget this, you can actually drag a third app on there and have all of these all together, which can be potentially very powerful. Now, if you don't like the taskbar and the capabilities that it gives you, just like you can disable the edge panel, you can disable the taskbar. Personally, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. If you want to customize it though, you can go in here and actually change a couple of settings. So show recent apps. See how the calculator and the members app are both down there? That's because I used them recently. You can change this, have up to 4 apps, or if you don't like it, you can just get rid of that recent thing and only have your preferred apps either way you want to go. You can also do this show and hide with a touch and hold. So if I long press on the taskbar, it will hide it and then I can bring it back. Personally, I find that I do that accidentally, so I'm going to get rid of that. Once more in settings though, I keep closing it just to open it right back up. Display continue apps on cover screen. So what this means is, let's say you've got your phone open, you're using a particular application, and you close it. Well, what's going to happen is, it's going to, by default, lock your device. What this is going to allow you to do is basically change it where, let's say in YouTube, when you close the device, rather than locking, it's just going to resize and continue on that cover display. Now, actually, in Good Lock and under Multistar and iHeart Galaxy Foldables, you can have a toggle there to just turn this on for all apps. If we go back into Labs, this time we're looking for Flex Mode Panel. As you can see sort of visualized here, if you have your device set up kind of like a laptop and this is on, you're going to get some additional little features. I'm not sure how useful this is, but it can be kind of cool having this little touchpad and using it like a little laptop. If we jump into an application where you can actually type something, you may notice in the Samsung keyboard this little chat assist, this little AI icon. What does this do? If you click on it, it's going to give you several different AI-powered abilities. Chat Assist uses AI to translate messages in select chat and text messaging apps, but more likely to compose text based on a snippet or request given. So what we can do here is you can use Composer, and you can sort of give it a general idea. You can then change these different categories. So it is social media, casual, professional, polite. We're going to stick with casual, and let's generate this. Now, this should be happening on device using Gemini Nano. You can see what my prompt was, and there you go. There is my output. It's got little hashtags and so forth in there. You may find this useful. Personally, I think it's a little bit silly, a little bit strange, but it is an option, and it is there. An AI feature that I think is less silly, that I actually really like, can be found by going into Wallpaper and Style. Let's click on Change Wallpaper, and now we're going to go to Create with AI. And what you're going to have here is a sort of series of different prompts that you can give it. So we're going to go with Soft Focus, and you can change these words. So rather than poppies, let's do leaves, and not orange, we're going to do blue. And if we hit Generate, again, this I believe actually happens in a data center in the cloud, but it's going to generate some images for me. That was actually very, very fast, and I think that these look pretty cool, right? That's a pretty good one. So let's go ahead and click on Set, Lock Screen, Home Screen, and that is our new wallpaper. And let's actually hang here for a second. You can actually customize some of these things. You can resize your lock screen icons. Let's make that clock a little bit bigger. You can change the style of the clock between several different ones. Even have a calendar on there, which I think is pretty cool. You can add a widget. Let's go down and grab a weather widget. How about that? And we can change that to full details. Now we'll just keep that icon only. So a little bit of customization there for your lock screen. Hit done, and now that should be our brand new wallpaper. You can actually see AI generated content on the wallpaper itself, which is kind of funny. Let's jump back into this. Photo Ambient is kind of cool as well, because what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to set, I believe you have to set a photo for this, and then it's going to give you like weather effects on top of your wallpaper to sort of reflect what the actual real world weather is. If we go back into this one more time, look at color palette, because you can turn that on, and you should turn that on. What it's going to do, it's going to grab colors from your wallpaper, and it's going to allow those colors to permeate through your system settings. Let's click on Apply, and now you can see those colors from the wallpaper are there, and you're going to see them in many places throughout your device. Now, if you go into Settings and then Lock Screen and AOD, I think there's another way to get this, but you can click on Edit Lock Screen here, and you can do those little edits that we just showed. Just another way to potentially get into that section. If you jump into your gallery, there are a couple of interesting things you can do. I think we click this Photo Assist button here, and I think that's going to allow us to get into quite a few of these things. Move, remove, resize, transform pictures into various artistic styles, draw on an image, and then use AI to make your drawing look like it's part of the picture. really, really cool stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is let's try and get rid of this honeybee. And it's done a pretty good job of grabbing the honeybee. I think we still have a leg that is being left out there. Let's see if we can add that on. Boom. Okay. So we could long press it, and then that would allow us to, we could make the honeybee much bigger. That would be cool, right? Or we could just erase the honeybee altogether. And if we click on generate, it's going to fill in that space that we left behind. And we should have just a nice leaf right there where that honeybee once was. And in Samsung fashion, it has instead generated something. I don't actually know. Samsung's generative edit, unlike Google's Magic Editor, seems to be much more prone to hallucinations. I've demonstrated this multiple times, and it is still hallucinating here on the Z Fold 6. But it, by and large, it seems to be useful. But of course, every time I'm filming it, it does something strange. So here's a selfie I just took with the horrible under display camera. And we're going to do Portrait Studio on this one. And let's try doing a comic. And what it's going to do is it's going to look at my face and it's going to generate this portrait of me in that particular style. I'm really kind of excited to see how this is going to look. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Okay, yeah, several different little cartoon versions of Shane. You could potentially use these 3D cartoon watercolor sketch. Let's do the 3D cartoon and we'll move on. Slightly creepy, but you get the general idea. I will say, though, that I like how they've just put all of these AI tools into one place. You just click on the AI button. It's all there. Portrait Studio, the ability to just instantly just start drawing around things to try to remove them, like my face, whatever it might be. All of that stuff, it's just all right there. Now, there is one more feature called Sketch to Image. Now, you're able to do this in a couple different ways. You can just draw something and it will generate it based off that, which I'm going to show you that here in a minute. Or in this instance, you can draw on top of the image and it will try and generate it for me. So let me grab my S Pen. Of course, you could just use your finger. In this case, I could just use my mouse, but I'm going to try to use the pen to make this a little bit better. So I'm going to try to draw just a little rudimentary hat, and it should understand that I was just drawing a hat, and it should make a beautiful hat to place on the top of my head. And it has failed. It has failed miserably. Let's try this again. Maybe I need to do a better job. Maybe I need to do a better job with my hat drawing. Maybe that's my fault. Let's try this again. Okay, there you go. So I drew a more different hat, and it's just slapping some hats on me. Definitely not in my style, but it's a thing you can do, and trust me, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this particular feature. I've seen some very strange things being made. And in fact, why not? Let's do another one. Can we put a hat on a dog? The age-old question, is this device worth $2,000 to put a hat on a dog? And the answer is, you absolutely can put a little hat on your dog. So one more feature that's kind of hidden in the gallery in a weird way. If you click on the little three dots and then go to Detail, Live Effect is an option. And what it's going to do, this is actually really similar to the dynamic wallpapers on Pixel devices. It's going to look at this image and it's going to try to give it this like dynamic 3D effect. This did not work particularly well on this image. Let's try this selfie. There's a little bit more depth to it. So we'll see if it'll work on this one. We can do the live effect on this. And there you go. You can kind of see some weird stuff going on there. This is another one of these features that I'm like, I don't know who this is for, but that's where it is. Now, another feature that I actually do really use is this one. If you have a subject, an item, a thing in a photo that you want to remove from that photo, let's try this little honeybee. Long press on it, and it grabbed the leaf and the honeybee. So what you can do is you can save it as an image or save it as a sticker. So if you save it as an image, you will now have this. And this may seem weird to you. This may not seem like something that's all that useful, but let me show you how I use it. So here's an image that I was making a thumbnail with earlier today, and I wanted to get rid of this gray background. Well, watch this. If I long press on this, there you go. It pulled it out perfectly. Let's save that as an image, and I can then send that over to my computer, and I have this perfectly cut out image to use in a thumbnail. So here's one that I thought might actually benefit from you being able to see the entire phone. If we go into, is it under Labs? feel like it was in a weird spot. It was. One-handed mode. So these phones are really, really tall, and it's lighter and it's skinny, and that lets you kind of hold on to it better, but I can't reach the top of the screen at all. If you turn on one-handed mode, what you can do now is swipe down at the bottom, and it's going to shrink the device down to that degree. So you can now hopefully reach the top of that screen. You can actually change the positioning of it. I think you can actually change the size. Maybe even make it smaller, and then tap again to make it bigger. And hopefully that just makes it easier to use your phone to be able to reach some of the areas you might need to reach while not, having to shift your grip a whole lot. So with the S Pen, see this little pop-up here? What this is telling me is that I can just freely write in this text field. So I can write that I am, I just messed that up. Let's start over. I can say testing. And of course my handwriting is abysmal, but it did a fairly decent job of figuring out what I was trying to say. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like this works in every app. I initially was going to test this in Threads, but it does not detect that that is a text field. So this is one of those things that's cool, but it doesn't seem like it's universal. So sticking with the S Pen, we did the little sketch to image thing on top of an image that already existed, but you can also click the little pop-up here and just do sketch to image based on nothing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to draw, they just drew a cat. We're going to try to draw something else. It's the worst drawing of a dog you've ever seen. And we're going to go with an illustration, and I'm hoping that it's going to recognize that this is a dog and that it's going to create a beautiful drawing of a dog based on my sketch. Wow, unbelievable. It really, okay, that's pretty... These are genuinely really, really funny. I don't know how great they are, but I mean, come on. Okay, I mean, this is like kind of crazy impressive though, right? Let me just show you what I just did. Look at this horrible little drawing that I just made, and it surely did put another bee next to my first bee in this image. And I promise you, if I posted this online, nobody's gonna be like, oh, that's not real. That's a fake bee. You made a terrible sketch of a bee, and you added that bee in there. That is really, that's pretty cool. But the last thing I want to show you, under Galaxy AI, you can scroll down here, and you can hit Process Data Only on Device. For added privacy, you can prevent collection and processing of your data. For Galaxy's AI Advanced Intelligence Services, or features rather, online processing provides the best results and is required for some advanced intelligence features. If it makes you nervous, you can turn it off. I almost forgot to mention this, but there are just a couple of quick things that I want to point out in the camera app. So this is a 50 megapixel sensor. By default, it's going to shoot at 12 megapixels. If you want to shoot at the full maximum 50 megapixels, you can just tap this right here, and it will toggle it over to 50 megapixel mode. Now, there are some downsides to using that, but the image, the output is going to be much higher resolution. If you switch over to video, by default, it's only shooting at full HD 30. I like to go to UHD 30. That's kind of where I like to be, but you can see 8K is there as an option as well. You also have this super steady mode, which is basically going to make your video look a lot more stable than it would normally. I believe it'll crop in a little bit and things aren't going to look quite as good, but it will be very, very stable. You also have under more several different options. Maybe I'll do like a camera deep dive, but those are kind of the first things that for most people you probably would want to change. So there you go, guys. That was a whole bunch of tips and tricks to hopefully get you started with your brand new Galaxy Z Fold 6. If I left anything out that you think is really important, feel free to drop those into the comments down below and help out your fellow Samsung Z Fold 6 user. Guys, I will see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.